Unlike the last few iPhone series editions, the iPhone 14 is the most basic and affordable of Apple's 2022 iPhones, starting at $799. Thus, you should not expect any drastic changes in design or hardware, as Apple would like to keep its profit margins intact by introducing something very similar to the iPhone 13. By very similar, we mean exactly the same, as most changes are tucked under the hood, with only a new chameleonic color left for the exterior. With an Apple iPhone 14 at a $799–$999 price range with new selfie and main cameras, satellite connectivity, faster modem, and bigger battery, be worthy of an upgrade from an iPhone 13 or an iPhone 12 then? I know, hardly, but let's entertain the thought. iPhone 14 specs. Apple has improved the iPhone 14 in a few key areas, such as the main and front camera, battery life, and wireless connectivity, both cellular and satellite, while at the same time slapping the faster A15 Bionic from the iPhone 13 Pro models on the iPhone 14. iPhone 14 design, colors. Apple is keeping the same tired iPhone 14 design it has used for the past couple of years. It inherits the narrower notch from its predecessor, though. Plus, it would sport a slightly more refined screen bezel and a bit taller aspect ratio. Don't expect anything but aluminum frame sandwiching a ceramic shield glass front and back. Same old bun setup. And an aging lightning connector that doesn't allow very fast charging, too. So you'd have to wait for the iPhone 15 to upgrade on that front. The two rear cameras sitting on an oversized stovetop are a go, too. But at least a new color is in store. The first iPhone 14 teardown showed that what it lacks in exterior redesign has translated into a case of the beauty is on the inside axiom. The folks from iFixit gave it their highest repairability score of 7/10 since the iPhone 7. The culprit, Apple's complete internal redesign to make the iPhone 14 assembly more modular in nature and with much easier access to the separate components. Above all, however, is the fact that you can now remove the glass backplate as easy as replacing the screen panel, and Apple will no longer charge you for nearly a whole iPhone when you crack its glass back. The new back glass replacement category brings with it a $169 rear panel replacement, rather than the $449 the same operation commands on the iPhone 13 out of pocket. The iPhone 14 sports the same 6.1-inch 1107 type OLED display, and Apple won't introduce the new playground for iPhone enthusiasts on it, an always-on display mode that is reserved for the Pro models. It's been a staple on Android phones for a good while, particularly Samsung ones, but Apple is just getting around to it. The iPhone 13 has a pretty good all-rounder for a camera, but that last component should be music to the ears of anybody considering an iPhone 14 purchase, as it is in fact the only meaningful hardware upgrade on the phone, considering how important it is to TikTok, or be reeling it in style as these days. Unfortunately, one of the biggest added values of new iPhones, a faster chipset every time, isn't be available on the new iPhone 14. Apple has assumed that the A15 is fast enough for its iOS 16 powering 4K video recording or 3D gaming duties on the lower refresh rate of the iPhone 14's display, so it stayed last year's course for the first time. The only big hardware upgrade area on the iPhone 14, besides the front-facing camera, would be its connectivity chippery that now includes satellite support, the latest Bluetooth 5.3, and a new 5G modem. The iPhone 14 series is using a custom low-power 5G modem with up to 10 Gbps download speeds, based on Qualcomm's current Snapdragon X65 model, as the Phonom X70 isn't coming before. The big surprise, however, is the presence of satellite connectivity on the iPhone. It can be used for emergency SOS messages, which can be sent in less than 15 seconds if you have clear skies when you are out in the boondocks, and completely off the grid and cellular connectivity. The iPhone 14 series powers the latest iOS 16 update that offers an always-on display functionality, a new media player, and a plethora of new features that will then trickle down to previous iPhones. The always-on display option, however, is reserved for the iPhone 14 Pro series to set it apart from the iPhone. Thus, in the case of the more affordable models, the specs differences are rather minor, so Apple improvised to set them apart from their predecessors in its marketing push with things like satellite connectivity or new camera algorithms. The shrunk modem chip and a new cooling design for the internals have allowed Apple to place a larger 3,279 mAh battery in the iPhone 14, compared to the 3,227 mAh piece in the iPhone 13. Its predecessor already has great endurance, and the iPhone 14 battery life is no exception thanks to the frugal connectivity chips and the efficient iOS 16 task distributor. According to Apple, it can last an hour more of local video playback or streaming video, or 5 hours longer during audio playback sessions. The only real iPhone 14 competitor is the iPhone 14 Pro. The display, camera, and performance gap is even bigger this year, and definitely worth the $2 Benjamins or so extra for the Pro model. At the $799 iPhone 14 price point, there are a lot more phones with better specs to consider if you venture outside Apple's iOS ecosphere. You can, for instance, get a Galaxy S22 deal for less than $700, with faster 120 HD display and telephoto zoom lens. Alternatively, you might want to wait for the Pixel 7, as it will sport better camera hardware and a cooler design. The iPhone 14 has a package virtue going for it: a compact 6.1 design coupled with the fastest mobile processor this side of the iPhone 14 Pro models. You can, however, use any Apple 15 or even a 14 powered vessel to carry all your new iOS. In fact, a switch to the iPhone 14 would be worth it only if you are coming from something like the 5G deprived iPhone 11. Otherwise, you'd better score a pretty good iPhone 14 deal if you're mulling over an upgrade. Slightly faster chipset and connectivity options, a tad better low-light camera performance, autofocus in the selfie snapper, and a bit longer battery life in some scenarios. Really, Apple? Thank you for watching this video. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe this channel and leave your comment in the comment section below.